Hello, this is Friendly Cat, and today we'll be looking at one of the most lovely minor nations, India, which has its very powerful Mughal path. I think this is either the most powerful minor path and minor nation in the game, if not its top 3, top 5 at worst. It's very, very strong. We're going to go looking at its bonuses, its malices, all the things that make it just so powerful. We're also going to spend a lot of time on the focus tree, going focus by focus. One, to see what makes this country so powerful, but also help us guide us when we either play this country or other countries. What are the things in a focus tree we're looking for? What focus do we want to take? Because there's often an overwhelming amount of choices. All right, let's get started. So at this point, we have now completed the Civil War, and because we control all of India, and coincidentally Burma, the British Raj has offered territorial concessions, so we've done so well in the Civil War, they're going to concede everything. So they give everything to us, and British Raj no longer exists. And at this point we are known as the princely breakaway state, but we have now cored all of India. That's pretty cool. So let's take a look at our national spirits. Now, as you know, Paradox loves to give nasty malices to countries at the beginning of the game, and then through player choice and player decisions are able to dig themselves out of that hole, eventually get rid of the malices, and sometimes even get bonuses. That's the concept of country or nation development, so that's cool, Paradox. That's cool, I guess. So let's look at our malices. The first one we have, marginalized Muslim community, minus 20% population recruitable factor. Ooh, that's kind of tough. And a 10% negative stability. That's a malice I want to get rid of. I've got, this is a temporary national spirit that I've taken through a focus, so I'm not really going to count as a bonus or a malice, but it's just some weekly war support that will eventually tick out. And then we have aggregate society. Ooh, look at that, nasty, negative 60% recruitable population factor and extremely expensive conscription. I've got a feeling that's going to hurt us quite a bit. That's those are very nasty malices, and that's why we only have 3.5 million. Well, I guess when you've got 350 million core population, these population malices don't really seem to hurt us that much. I think this might go down in a little bit, but I can run the whole game on 2 million, 1.5. So 3.5 means I will never worry about population. That means for the purposes of the Mughal path in India, the recruitable population factor, the conscription loss crass, mobilization speed, and the population factor over here are not malices as far as I'm concerned, because we've got so much core it doesn't matter. But we do have a minus 10% stability. That's actually really, really good. I'm not going to compare against too many other countries, but Afghanistan has negative political power, negative production output. A lot of countries are missing a lot of things. They've got higher resistance target. So a lot of malices, they'll make the game very, very tough, and they have to take focuses to climb out of the hole. We're not really in much of a hole. Maybe let's look at stability. Ooh, that's rough. 26% base stability. I've got improved worker conditions running right now, but that's very low. So yeah, that's kind of a malice. Yeah, that's a malice. That's really low. War support, 28%. That's really low. That's going to be really tough to get above 50. So yeah, that's definitely malice. I've got that weekly military pensions ticking away at it, but that's still really low. But that's pretty much it. My leader, he's not too bad. He doesn't have any malice. I mean, he doesn't have any bonuses, but he doesn't have any malices either. So just from the beginning, we're not really in a hole. And if you're not really in a hole, everything you do that makes your country better just makes it bonuses. You're already climbing higher and higher. A lot of nations, again, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, and many of the miners in the world start off in the hole, and they get these focus that makes them better. And you're like, oh, that makes me so strong. Not really, if it just climbs you out of the hole. In this case, we actually have the opportunity to become very powerful depending on our focuses. So the conscription laws and trade laws, there's nothing unusual about economy law as normal. Advisors, let's see, do I have any good advisors? Okay, that one's pretty much garbage. Oh, +6 stability and +8% research speed. That's pretty good. That sounds like a pretty rare advisor, particularly since our stability is so low. We really like that, and research speed is really helpful too. Elusive gentleman, okay, that's standard. Captain of industry, okay, whatever. These aren't going to be that cheap. War industrial is not that very helpful. Silent workhorse, 15% political power. That's very good. And then backroom backstabber, that's effectively a negative 35% justification wartime. That subversive activities cost plus the justified war costs I think are added together. It ends up being about a third off, which is really nice considering we're non-aligned. So Muslim Skull is really good, Silent Workhorse is really good, and this one's really good considering that we're non-aligned. Great pick. I'm liking these advisors. As we move on to the MIOs, oh, 2 MIOs. Medium tank is not too bad, but infantry tank is really good for when you're putting tanks on the front of infantry because it's got those armor choices very early on. 1, 2, 3 for armor, so we like that. How about ships? I mean, I know Indy doesn't have much ships, so let's not get too optimistic. I mean, how many MOs can they have, really? Oh, that's a lot. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? That can't be right. That's 7. Yeah, they got carrier MIOs. I'm gonna cheat. Let's look at. Oh my goodness, they must have so much research. They must have carriers and battleships and cruisers. They've got all these fully formed MIOs. Am I right? So let's cheat and look at research. I'll come back later, of course. Oh, nothing. They don't have any research? How can they have all these MIOs if they don't have the research? Someone can explain that to me. They've got transports and nothing else. This is a bit nonsensical to me. And then it doubles up. I've got, this actually isn't as many as it looks like because Task Force Shipbuilders is duplicated down below. This looks like the same to me. They can build carriers twice. I don't understand that. They can build battleships twice. I think this might be a case. We're gonna see this throughout the path. That maybe Paradox wasn't paying really close attention to how they set up the MIOs. Most countries don't get a lot of MIOs. I mean, at least the miners now. Some don't get any. So, but whatever. It still makes it very powerful. Well, let's cheat again. Let's look at the aircraft. Ooh, they started with aircraft. I didn't research this. It's April 1937, so I've researched some things, but I didn't research aircraft. They start with this aircraft construction, which is pretty cool for the dive brakes on CAS, engine 1, machine guns. That's pretty cool. Okay, they might have an airplane MIO. That would be fair, I think. But let's be prepared. They don't really usually get MIOs. And whoa, do they have all the MIOs? Do they have all of the aircraft? This can't be right. This can't be right. I just find this so funny. I mean, nobody gets MIOs. I don't know for certain, but this might be the same MIOs as like Germany or UK or because this looks like Indian division. So maybe these were all of the UK's MIOs that just were handed off to British Raj. Okay, whatever. Light aircraft in particular is really good. It's maybe the top light aircraft MIO. So this just seems kind of silly. Is this an overpowered, I would say, because most of them, you can't use all these MIOs. It's not like you can use 7 MIOs. I know some people like to use CAS, but so if you happen to have CAS and then like light aircraft, you could. I would double up everyone on light aircraft, but this isn't as overpowered as it seems because we don't normally use in single player, certainly for achievements, which is what I focus on. I don't necessarily build battleships or carriers or things like that. And then industrial. Okay, finally we're getting some weakness here. They only have the central bank, which is relatively weak, and at 100 political power is not so fun. We would want to see an industrial research speed, but to do that we have to take the Azad Hindbake, which I don't think we have the option on this run. Okay, finally something that's not really powerful here. Oh, military theorist, but that's good. That's good. A standard 10% land doctrine. We like it though. I definitely like it. Now, military advisors, I did pick this guy. That's kind of weak, but it's something. A division attack with 20 army XP, and these are kind of expensive. I think he was 100 PP as well, 100 political power, which is a little bit expensive. So I'll call that weak. But he gets naval experience. This is one of the better naval advisors. Chief of Navies, in my opinion, because Navy experience is primarily used for me, for the Marines, and later on for the subs. And then we get one aircraft Chief of the Air Force, and that's really cool. Night operations is pretty good, but in case it's 0.30, and actually having one, a lot of miners don't have them. At least some miners don't have advisors, so we'll take it. Military High Command. Okay, that's actually kind of good. Air support mission efficiency is pretty good because of how it affects when your CAS are on military. And this is a special one. I don't think most countries have this, so that's very cool. Infantry, very solid. Starting up with a level, actually a level 6 general at this. The expert, very cool. Specialist, not that great. Commando is actually pretty good if you build special forces. It can stack with infantry. Cavalry, not that useful for me. I do use a lot of cavalry, but not on main assault forces. It would help if we have the special unit kind of elephants, but we'll have to take a look at that later. But not that great, and regrouping's pretty decent. So on a normal run, I will definitely take these two. I mean, once we'll get some cast up in the air, so maybe 2 or 3 years from now, I'd take this to make sure my cast get extra air support, mission efficiency, and ground attack. But this one's good, this one's good, this one's okay, this one's so-so. All really good military high command, and of course we can make our own infantry and cavalry if we needed to, but starting off with level 6 is really just that much helpful. It allows us to focus on an army offense expert with our first choice. So overall, looking really good. At the very least, this is a solid 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 as far as choices, particularly with the political advisors. I'm very happy with what I've seen. No malices, but that's not the whole tour. That's not the whole story, because now we're going to look at our focuses. As I mentioned, I've done the Mughal path, and then one of them I did that to hide a lot of the points, a lot of the things we're not seeing. And we've taken down here, we've taken the legacy of Babur. So let's start to look at some of the focuses. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on all of them, but let's give an example of one. This is a 70-day, 2 mills, and a civ, 30 army XP, and a 35% research bonus for support artillery. Okay, the research bonus isn't too much, but 70 days for 3 factories is pretty good. And plus army XP, this is a good solid focus. And all other things, or whatever else we see here, this is one I'm likely to want to pick up at some point. Certainly in the early game. Peacock Prince, what does that do? Okay, so that changes our name. Right now we're the Princely Breakaway State. Once we check that, we'll be known as the Al-Hind State. And then we can actually pick a new leader that gives us plus 10% stability and plus 5% political power, which is like 36 political power a day. That's nice. 35. And we love these 35-day focuses. Very cool. And now I'm going to start to look from left to right. So the next we can take is Revolt of the Prince. We have got a bypass on that. This is going to bypass because we did so well in our Civil War. We took everything. So we will bypass Revolt of the Princes. We can take Unite the Subcontinent, which gives us cores in Burma. And it looks like it's coring all of India, but since we already have all of India, I don't think it cores anything else. Yeah, I think we already core this. Yeah, we already core that. And we core that. So because we core that, all it does is give us cores in India. But it also gives us war goals against France, Burma, and I don't think it says it here, but I think we get a war goal against Portugal. I think we do anyway, even though it doesn't say that here. So that's actually cool. Free war goals are good. But not that helpful because, of course, Burma is protected by the UK, and France is really far away, so it would just start us into a needless war with them. We can't really end. So, actually, it's not very helpful after all, I guess. Now, we've got these choices. Now, I've seen a lot of folks, a lot of videos or guides about playing India, and they choose, I would say, the wrong option. So this takes away to minus 20% recruitable population factor in exchange for a ticking weekly stability of 0.20 forever and daily compliance. That's really, really powerful. That daily compliance is fantastic. And the weekly stability is particularly fantastic considering how low ours is. So this will be basically a perpetual 10% base stability increase every year. That's really good. And while the recruitable population sounds terrible with a minus 20%, we have other focuses that can offset it. So we'll be okay. And right now it's only at 20% or so. So I think if we just took this, I don't know if that would actually bring us down to 0 or not, but it would certainly bring us down quite a bit. So we would have to do something else to offset it. And then secular administration gives us efficiency growth, which is pretty much useless, 12% research speed, which is pretty nice, and then a minus 6% stability. So I see a lot of folks taking this. That's a clear misstep. This is more into the guide of the focus. This is so much better. Daily compliance is so powerful. Weekly stability is so powerful. And we can offset the recruitable pop. Even if I didn't have weekly stability, this would still be better. Just that 0.03 daily compliance gain. Very powerful. And the reason I say it's variable because that means you're getting 10% more compliance every year than you otherwise would with any state you control, which is 5% lower resistance target per year. more factories, more population. You will eventually, it will slowly core basically everyone. It's not as good as 0.05 or 0.10, but it's still very good. Mughal court, okay, that gives us a bunch of other advisors. I won't go over all of them. It's really hard to see here unless I was to use like a cheat code, which I can't here in Iron Man. But the only one that's really good down here is there's a advisor which gives us a justified war goal of minus 33%, which is similar to the other advisor we already have, but it also has the annex cost of minus 20%, which is really good for contested peace conferences. Assuming it's working as intended, which I think it is, it seems like it is, it means that we effectively have more war score, like 25% more war score than we otherwise would in a peace conference. So we would like that. But because contested peace conferences, particularly on ahistorical, happen quite a bit. There's also a 10% stability guy if for whatever reason we wanted to take that. Peacock Throne for the Modern Age. Looks really good. 0.10 daily political power. That's actually like a 5% political gain, which is okay. 36. I think it's actually 10% maybe. So it's that's a fair amount of political power. That's nice. And then cavalry attack and cavalry defense. That's okay, but I don't really use cavalry that much, at least as main assault troops, but I do think the cavalry attack does affect the elephants. So 36 or so daily political power, or 5%, it's okay. Master impact, that doesn't really affect us that much. An eye for an eye, I don't need this because I've got, from Unite the Subcontinent, I already have a war goal against Burma, so if I want to go to the war with the UK, I don't need to take this one. And the whole enables an administrative decision is I think it's meant as a I don't say a joke, or it allows you, if you control whales, to form a little puppet in the UK for 50 pp. I don't see any purpose to that, except there's some kind of a joke in there that I just don't understand. Ooh, now this is good. Army org regain 10% is nice. Division attack 5%. That's really nice. But the biggest are the justified war goal time of minus 25% and the tension limit reduction. This focus effectively says once you get here, you can now start generating war goals on anyone, because right now I cannot generate war goals because I need world tension at 50%. So this says it's a minus 50%. You can now generate even at 0%, and you get a faster justification time, which, plus either from the advisor here, minus 33%, or the advisor here, means I'm now looking at a reasonably fast, like about 50% or 45%, I think is the way the math works out, reduction justification time. Very good. This path says, come down here, you'll be very strong. Actually, you remember bypassing your role to the princess. Come down here, we'll give you some cores, give you some war goals against countries that you don't want to fight anyway. We'll give you some more power, and you can justify on anyone you want to, and your army will be more strong, more powerful. Very cool. Very cool. Look at this. Research slots? This can't be 3 more research slots. We start with 2. Are we really gonna have 5 research slots? Oh yeah, that automatically elevates the miner to very powerful, to me anyway. And the way those research slots are set up seem very similar to the Paraguay path, if I recall correctly. Look at that. Research, 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 which each one of them requiring additional factories. So very simple, very easy to understand. This one requires no factories, this requires 50, this requires 100. And then Uruguay shares the same thing. I actually happen to be a real fan of this type of research. I mean, 100 factories seems like a lot, but it should be a lot. It's like if you want your fifth slot, it's going to cost you a lot. And look at the single beaker, 3 beakers, and then a gold beaker. And I think the India shares that same mentality. Look at that. Single beaker, triple beaker requires 25, and then gold beaker, in this case, we need 60 factories. Almost identical to Paraguay and Uruguay. I can't think of any other countries that use that model, but I really like this model. I really like going to 5. And particularly, let's take a quick look at our research. Our research looked really good. I've taken a couple of things. We start with guns. We start with support and injury recon. Tanks. We start with tanks. We start with artillery. I picked up interwar artillery. No ships, of course. We saw that. And we got transport, which is nice. Some planes. I picked up that. And then I've started industry. So having 5 slots coming my way, and having them two of them we can pick up. We could beeline and take up both of these in 1937. Have 4 slots going in 1938. That's very powerful. And now we're getting to the beginning of what we call choices. If you had to choose between going here, here, here to start wars, or here to start research, you have to really make good choices. And I think that's good game design. If the player says, I like this, but I also like this, that's good design. And a lot of focus is like, I don't like this and I don't like this, but which one do I like least, or which one's least painful? And that's bad game design. Or if you only have one choice. So 2 good choices, I think is good. Do you want to sacrifice your research to go straight to war, or plan for a longer game? All right, and then let's start to look into stuff that's maybe not as interesting. 70 days for 2 mills is not too bad. This puts on early mob and lets us make civ factories faster. Not that helpful. I mean, 2 civs of 70 is good, but not compared to what else we're going to see is not that great. And then we can pick up this. 35 days for a single civ, some infrastructure, and a 15% infrastructure speed. Sounds cool, but we really can't use infrastructure construction speed that much. We don't build a lot of infrastructure. Onward to this one. 70 days for 2 mills. Base war support, a 66% cost reduction in land doctrine. That's like 66 army XP. Mountain infantry 1 and an Indian unit. And limited conscription. I can't believe we're going to get mountain infantry 1, because I'm pretty sure up here we already got mountain infantry 1, and this is a required focus to get down here. As far as I know, this is the only way we can get down here that I can think of. In other words, we have to take this. So looks like Paradox forgot to take out the add technology mountain infantry 1 because we already took it. Nonetheless, I'm going to give him a pass. You know why? This is like, I'm not going to call it a silly focus. There is so much going on here. The 2 mills alone would make it worth it. 5% war support is great. 66 army XP. Going to limited conscription isn't that impressive for most countries, but remember, I've got to pay like 420 political power, and depending, even if I take other things to reduce this conscription law cost, I'm still paying 250, 300. It's gonna be very expensive. So right now, this focus is worth at least 420 political power, not including the other things. Very good. Base war support can cost you like 150 if you're taking war propaganda. So very good. The only reason I wouldn't take this is because there's just other things I'd like to take along the way, but a very powerful focus. It opens us up to the 35-day focus for elephants. It also grants 70 army XP and proper heritage, which allows us to design cavalry units for free. Oh, isn't that so cool? Now we can make elephants for free. That's so cool. No, actually, no. Sorry. Elephants, I think, are considered cavalry, but the 100% cavalry unit design only applies to cavalry, like to the horses. Doesn't apply, I think, to camels or elephants. But that's okay. I'm normally going to pick up proper heritage anyway to expand out my cavalry. So this is the equivalent of 105 army XP, 70 army XP here, plus 35 more the cost to pick up proper heritage. And it brings elephants. Elephants aren't the most powerful unit in the game, but because they're so rare, because we actually need it for an achievement, we need to go here anyway. So might as well just throw a bunch of army XP, effectively 105 army XP for 35 days. That's fantastic. Thunder elephants, 70 days for 2 mills. That's not bad at all. The rest of the stuff's not that useful, at least for how I play single player. And then, of course, going down here, the capstone or the reward focus. Generally, at the bottom is considered the reward focus. That didn't seem that interesting to me. Maybe I'm missing. I think I don't use a lot of special breakthrough, the special technologies. What I call experimental stuff, the special projects. Just as single player, we just don't do that very much, and we would spend our focuses and resources on other things. Wow, that's pretty good though. Okay, so we like these. Let's take all the way to the right. Now, what is this? Oh, this is Timurid bureaucracy. Oh, so it gets rid of this malice. That's pretty cool. In 70 days, that sounds fair. Wait, it does more than that. It changes the non-aligned to 15%, which basically gives me more ruling party popular stability. The reason it's, I've got political loyalty, so that's why it's sitting at that 21.7. So it's effectively like 3% more stability for my game, my play right now. And then plus 2% non-core manpower. That's really good, particularly it synergizes with daily compliance gain. Mobilization speed, okay, that doesn't help me that much. Recruit will pop 20%. Oh, okay, so that's getting rid of the malice there. It goes from negative 20 to plus 20, which is also really good because that offsets this. So this is negative 20, this is positive 20. So Recodify and Timberwood are now offsetting each other. Very cool. And then we get plus 16% stability, and we're at minus 10, so it's plus 6% stability. That's cool. Ooh, minus 5 resistance target. Very cool. We really like resistance target. So this is very powerful. And then we're going on to conquer Afghanistan. 35-day focus to attack Afghanistan. Okay, I like that. And then 35 to attack Sinking. That's cool. And then I need to control Herat, Farah, and Kandahar. What is that? That's Herat, Farah, and Kandahar. So once I control those three, 1, 2, and 3, then we can take this and core all of, is this Kabul? Herat? This is all Afghanistan. I guess, I mean, Afghanistan really is not that impressive, but whatever. And 70 days isn't that great. And then we do expand the Silk Road. So once we fully control Afghanistan and then this land, then we can take Silk Road. I mean, this is not impressive. Oh, then I get 2 civs and a bill. So far, I'm not so impressed. I like attacking, but this doesn't seem like I'm really accomplishing much. Oh, but then a 35-day focus to go for Iran. That's nice. And it's all particularly helpful because we're non-aligned, so I can't justify anyone. Another 35 if I wanted Tibet, Bhutan, and Nepal, which I don't, so that's not very good. I certainly don't care about Mongolian People's Republic. Aren't you in the common turn? Yeah, I'm probably not going to be taking a focus that it has me go against the Soviet Union. And then, oh, we can declare on Turkey. That's cool. And then Iraq. That's not that great because Iraq is just guaranteed by the UK. And our reward focus, if we control Herat, which is Afghanistan's capital, Tehran, which is Iran, Baghdad, which is Iraq, Ankara, which is Turkey's capital, and then Urmqi, which is Sinking. Then we get this really cool thing. We get to core Tehran with it, which is all of Iran, and then we get to core Baghdad, all of Iraq, and we get to core Afghanistan, and we gain a 10% stability, 20% war support, and then the minus justifier wartime of 50%. Very cool. This is actually a very good end focus, and we do like it. The problem is getting here is a little bit odd, and of course we've already cored Afghanistan up here, so I don't think we need to core them a second time. It seems like this one kind of slipped through the cracks. What's also interesting, there's no bypasses. So if you had already taken over Iran, you still have to click it. You still have to choose a focus. More importantly, there is requirements that Turkey has to exist. So somehow you had already taken over Turkey, capitulated, annexed them, then you would be locked out of this focus because Turkey doesn't exist. You could never get down here. So if you had taken Iraq or Turkey, you cannot proceed down to the bottom path. I don't know if that's making sense because the requirement is that Iraq exists, but there is no bypass. There's no bypass. A bypass would mean it's this focus bypass if Iraq doesn't exist, and then you would be able to simply skip it. The same way that this has given us a bypass, we can't see the requirements, but it gives us a bypass because we already have met certain requirements. There's no bypass, there's no requirements. I do feel like someone just ran out of time here. So on one hand, I think it's really cool, but I can't say it's really powerful, to be honest. This is a good ending, but it's not so overwhelming powerful. And the requirements, basically this requires you to go to war with the UK. I assume the presumption would be you'd be going to war with UK in like 1939 or 40 when they're tied up with the Axis. So you take out Iraq, or you take out Iraq as they complete on historical, and at the end of 1939, they will take this one right here and cause the UK to go to war with them. So if we had already completed our Iraq focus or timed it to around their focus, then when they declare on the UK, we declare war on them, and then that would avoid a war with the UK. Maybe I'm making this overly complicated, but so this overall concept seems to be attack Afghanistan, attack Xinjiang, and on historical, go to war with China as well, because it's April 1937. We're not going to get here until after Japan goes to war with China, which puts us at war with China and the United Front. And then we take Legacy of Timur, and then we continue to expand and push Xinjiang out. And if we can't push Xinjiang out, can't push China out of these territories, all this mountain with very little supply, then we cannot proceed. But if we can go down here and then attack Iran. And I think if we're at war with the United Front, Iran might join the United Front. Turkey might join the United Front. Turkey's guaranteed by Romania, which means Romania might join the United Front. So somewhere along the line, we would have to deal with China and help Japan out. Anyway, I'm definitely going into way detail on this, but so this says build up and attack anyone you want, but you're not going to get into early games. This says go aggressive and see what you can get out of it, and maybe make this work on an ahistorical run. In any case, so very, very interesting. I'm very impressed with most of the focuses, and 35-day justification focuses aren't bad. They could be coded a lot better, but 35-day focuses with 3 nations, 35 particularly for a non-align, I do like it, and it gives us a lot of flexibility if we ever play ahistorical. So let's move on, shall we? And now we're going to move on to the parts of India's focus tree that are not specific to Mughal, which means they're going to help you for other things too. But overall, the Mughal is extremely powerful, particularly the 5 slots. Keep British generals. We have to be in a faction with the UK, and then we would retain generals if we ended up with a war with the UK. At this point, we've already been at war with the UK, so we lost our generals. That's not that interesting. So if we went back and eventually joined the Allies somehow, we could continue down there. That's 75 army XP for 35 days. That's pretty good. That is nothing. 35 days to create 10 units. I guess that's okay. 70 days for 4 mil. Is that right? 4 mils? That's pretty good. And then, I don't like this. 70 days to get a one-time support train. And I think that's infantry. Not that interesting. This is pretty cool. Another operator slot. This is particularly good for Media Mughal. But that's a different type of it. That isn't a specific achievement run. And I might as well mention, if you're doing the Mughal run, we have to take this before we take expand the Silk Road. So for Media Mughal, we have to take this first before we make our ways down there. But since this we have to take to get here, and this is a bypass, it just means we have to delay everything by 70 days, at least by the time we get here. But if we're not doing Media Mughal, I might want to look at the other side. So industrialize the army. 35 days for 50 army XP. We like that. 35 days for another 50 army XP. Very good. And 5% war support. Very nice. This is really cool. If we weren't already at war economy, which we are not, and we had more than 50% war support, we can take this, and we can take it even when we're at peace. So that would be pretty cool. But I would probably not take it. I would just wait till I was at war and at 50% war support before taking war economy. Then we get to choose Germany, which gives us better tanks. Not so great. The United States, more planning factor. Not really. For 70 days, I'm not that interested. Soviet Union, which is 5% HP. Wow. That's actually really good. 5% HP, if it's working correctly, which I think it is, effectively means you lose 5% less manpower or equipment in battle that are lost during battle, I think, or even particularly during attrition, which is another way to think of it is it's 5% more production across the board for all of your land units. That's trucks, support equipment, infantry, artillery. It also would affect Lend-Lease as well, but it's really good. For manpower, we're not that worried about it, but still, it is nice to have. 10% division defense, that's actually really good. I know we tend to focus on attack. I focus on attack, but 10% division defense will actually protect us during breakthrough, and also if we're overwhelmed by defending. Infantry division attack is nice, primarily for infantry only. I'm not sure if that affects special forces. Typically it would not, I don't think, but in any case it still affects division. Now the pain on this is that because of that daily communism support, we're going to have to ban communism shortly after, like as soon as this finishes, and we'll take maybe 1 or 2% base stability hit, but I still think this is very worth it for 100 political power. That HB, the division defense alone are really good, and the infantry division attack is not too bad. This is not that great. We don't care about this that much. Army Tech mechanized models, not for 70 days. 70 days for better research for infantry and support. Not really. For a lot of miners, these kind of research bonuses are definitely worth considering. But knowing that I've got 5 research and I already start with a fair amount, this becomes not that useful. And I'm truly, throughout this tree, going to point out the really strong ones, but also the ones that aren't that great. As part of the guide, if you see that, oh yeah, this looks really cool, I'm going to save so much research time, probably pass on it. You can get to 5 research slots, which you really should be able to do. I would veer away from research bonus related focuses. Okay, now that we get into, I think, one of some of the oddest stuff. There's someone, I think, at Paradox that loves trains, loves choo-choo trains, because there are so many train focuses in this game, railroad related focuses, infrastructure, choo-choo. I don't get it. They're mostly useless. Okay, I would say they're useless. Basam oil is not bad, but to pay 70 days for an oil focus on more foil, I guess. I probably wouldn't take it to help out China. I guess for historical we would take, so the AI can take it and help China. If you realistically could take a minus 10% production cost for China, that would certainly help them. And then Lido Road, the rest of the stuff, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. It's primarily just, do you want to build trains? Do you like trains and railways? Actually, I keep saying trains, but railways. I will say that it's blocked on this. You can't see it because we've already gone down the Mughal path. But if we were taking the East India country, then we do take this for the infrastructure street, because East Indian Company wants to build a lot of civs generally. So we're going to take the infrastructure construction speed bonuses and then civilian factory speed bonuses and max infrastructure. But for Mughal, no, we don't need any of this stuff. So we're going to pass this entirely. I'm going to say it's good for that path, but not good for our path, and which I think is fair. All right, let's get on to some army. Okay, so 35 days for a mill. We like that. What is this? Ammunition factor Kadaki +1 size. What is that? Oh, that's our infantry weapons. Wow, this is very rare. You're not going to see this very often in the game, so you really need to savor this first. Let's savor this moment. There might be, throughout the rest of the game, 20, 30, maybe 40 focuses in which the game will give you for 35 days or so, even 70, a +1 to your MIO. That already exists. I say that already exists, because we do see throughout the game +1s or +2s, but almost always it is a reward to give you the MIO. So, and a normal miner, this would be grayed out, and then like 4 or 5 focuses in, it says click this, and then you get the MIO, and it gives you a +1. The concept being that you didn't have access to it for a year, 2, 3, or 4, so you didn't have a chance to grow it, so we're going to give you the MIO and let you grow it as well, which I think is fair. But that's not what's happening here. 35 days for a mill on its own is a good focus, that's a really good focus, but giving me an MIO right off the top is fantastic. The strategy we're going to use, because these are so rare, you really can't take it for granted. And because the first levels of MIO are very, very short, they're only 800 funds. We've already got like 3% with like 2 on factories. So what we would want to take is, we wouldn't take that focus until we're up to like level 3 or maybe 4, in which the funds cost goes up, I don't know, it's like 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, whatever it is, 1,600, 2,000, whatever it is, so it becomes very expensive. So as the MIO level rises, it takes more and more production to get to the next level. So we don't want to waste this +1 when we're so level and it's so quick to rise. We want to take it when we've got 3 or 4. All right, so wow, that's so cool. How that at the top is pretty rare. Well, what else do we have here? What is this? The 35 day for another mill. Fantastic. Oh, another MIO. This one goes to the Kadaki, Ammunition Factory Kadaki. I wonder what that one is. Let's see. Oh, that's my infantry fire. That can't be right. That can't be right. Okay, this can't be another +1 to the MIO. Okay, whatever. Now it's a +1 size, which alone makes it really good, but then it opens up the rifle factory Ishapore, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. So the rifle Ishapore lets us add piercing, defense, and research more, none of which are really that useful for our infantry, but we can use the +1 to move in other directions. So wow. So if we waited till we had like level 3 or level 4 MIO and took this would go up to say 5. This would take us to 6. Wow, that's very cool. Oh, wow, two in one tree is pretty impressive. What is this? +1 for Madoc? Madoc? Is that right? So I think Madoc is the truck. Okay, that's cool. That's not as helpful as infantry. Everyone uses a lot of infantry. I would say almost every country, including miners, we make a lot of guns. So that's really, really powerful. Trucks aren't as powerful, but it's still nice. What's this? Okay, no, it can't be, right? This is a 35-day focus that gives us +1 mil, +1 the Kadaki, and then +1 to the Kanpur, excuse me, which is artillery. That can't be right. It's right. I can't think of another focus like this in the game, particularly when it's giving you +1 MIOs to such solid MIOs. Everyone's making infantry, everyone's making artillery. So it's really good. And even though the bonuses, the ordnance factory Kanpur, I think only one country, one MIO can take it. The 15% research bonus and 20% isn't that great. It's the +1 that puts us in other spots. I mean, the research bonus is not bad, but really we'd rather put it on something that increases our attack power. The only reason we mind is because this is +1 Kadaki, excuse me, another +1 Kadaki, another +1 Kadaki. Presumably we're starting to reach our MIO max, and it might be worth it to pick up something else if we don't have any good MIOs left. So for whatever reason, you're like, I don't care about this stuff, maybe it's worth it, but still really good. That's pretty amazing. What's this? Another +1 for the Madoc. That's for the trucks. So if we were heading down trucks, now we've got 2+ and another mill. That's too much. What is this? Another one for Kadaki. Okay, I'm no longer surprised. And a +5 efficiency cap, that's very powerful. That's actually very good. Wow. Because, I mean, most of the bonus ones they've given so far, like plus to research, plus to funds game, plus to piercing isn't that great, but a +5 efficiency cap is, depending on what level you're at, is like 6% more guns. And a research bonus and a mill. What is this? Oh, Kanpur again. So this is the artillery, which gives us more soft attack. Okay, I'm no longer so excited because I'm just used to seeing it. Oh, Kadaki, another one for Kadaki. Okay, what else was I expecting at this point? More soft attack, more breakthrough, more research, and another mill. I guess if I didn't expect another Kadaki, I'd be surprised. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Kadakis. Okay, yeah. Okay, finally onto something that's not that impressive. Engineering, it's 35 days for 2 mills. Any normal focus tree, this would be really great. At this point, it's no longer impressive when mills have now been handed out like candy to us. 35 for 2 mills. But at the beginning of this focus, I was like, wow, that's so good. 70 for 2 mills and a sieve. And now I'm like, 35 for 2 mills is so much better. I guess everything's relative in this focus game. Compared to other focus trees, this would be... In other focus trees, this would be really good, but in this focus tree, I can take it or leave it. I'll probably never even take it because there's so many other good ones, but here it's good. The engineer's technology isn't that useful to us. All right, onwards. Research. Okay, finally we're onto our week. Goodness, it's only 35 days. We don't need research bonuses. Armor speed, not that useful. And 30% research bonus for armor is not that great. For 70, ooh, that's ick. Finally, we're going to. Finally, I can honestly say I don't like that research. I'm never taking that focus. 20 army XP for 35 days and some mechanized, not that great. Mountain tanks. If this was working correct, it would be kind of interesting, just really expensive. 70 plus 35 plus 70 to get down here. It lets your tanks attack better in the mountains. Again, it's really hard for me to easily test this, so I don't know how useful this would be, or whether it's worth it. Mountain guns, if that was working. Again, the concept of a mountain-specific 70-day focus, I'm very reluctant to take that, considering how many other good things there are. But even if there weren't that many good things, Hill Fighter for 2 of the generals, not really. I won't take 35 days for that. This is not too bad. Non-combat out of supply penalty is 20%. That doesn't do much. Encirclement penalty, I hope I'm not getting encircled very much. Supply grace, that's good. What that means, if you don't know, supply grace means that particularly for naval invasions. If you're able to sit in supply and max out your supply, it means you can go longer when you're out of supply. So it doesn't necessarily give you free, it just lets you store. Like basically imagine if your troops are carrying backpacks, they can carry like extra food, but they have to be in a place where they can stock up and then launch. That's why I say for naval invasions is a perfect example when this would work well. If you're fighting on the front line, bouncing in and out of supply, it's not very helpful because your troops are never able to store up. Like they're in supply, they're out of supply, they're in supply, they're out of supply. But still, it would be good if you can like kind of like stock up, maybe by the supply hub, and it takes time. It takes more time to fill your backpack or your sack with all that food, so they have to have time to sit at the port or at the supply hub. And again, that's why naval invasions work. You send a troop there, he sits there for 7 days, 14 days, whatever. He has plenty of time to get a supply. But is it worth all this? I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, it's not bad. I don't think it's worth 70 days on its own, but it's certainly not worth with the other requirements. All right. Okay, now we're back into some good stuff. Ooh, 70 days for 5% stability. Org region and organization. I like this a lot. It's particularly useful because of our low stability, but more org and more org regen is very good to me. It lets you go faster, it lets you recover obviously faster, attack, stay in battle longer, and if you're getting hammered against enemy units, particularly if you get very low on org, 5, 6 org or so, be able to get back your org very quickly is very good. Standard durations is not too bad. Supply consumption is not too bad. I'd probably take stability first, unless for whatever reason I was already over the cap, then I would consider. But org regen helps you with speed a little bit. So two good choices. Again, good game design is two good choices. I don't know if we'd ever take this quinine. But I would never take this. I don't have to worry about famine. So I'll be just, Mughal Empire doesn't have to worry about famine. I actually should have mentioned that. There's a malice somewhere out here in India, and once we become the Mughal Empire, it's like there's no famine problems anymore, buddies. Okay, whatever. But anyway, if we had famine issues, we could click this. Now, during the Civil War, I took these focuses, which should give you a hint. I think they're really good. This is that weekly war support for 400 days, which works out to quite a bit. So 400 days is like more than 52. I think it's like 6% war support. I'm probably off on that, but it's quite a bit. Okay, weekly is 10, 52 days is a year for 300. So it's like, it's like about 6% or so, probably a little bit less than that, maybe 6, but anyway, it's worth it. The military construction and factory and docker doesn't help me that much, but I'm struggling with base war support. Eventually I do need to get that up to 50 if I want to go war economy. Now I took this is not that great. I don't remember how many days, I think it's 35 days, because this is 35 Army XP as far as land doctrine, and then a research. I don't really care about the research, but what I really want is this. I took this for the free special forces. On this run, I'm planning to go Mountaineers and Marines for all of these special forces. Soft attack, I'm going to plan to build some combination of Mountaineers and Marines, and I want both of them to get all of their bonuses. That's the special forces attack here, special forces attack here, special forces attack here, and then of course special forces here. That's my strategy, and that's why I went down here. I realized I bypassed India territorial force. That's really cool for later on for recruitable pop, and of course 35 Army XP. 35, again, a 1-to-1 political power to Army XP is usually pretty good trade, so this also increases our recruit. For this run, for Mughal, I don't need it, but for the other India runs, they would like this. And help from the Nagas, I don't think that's very good at all. There's this like really interesting concept where some of the stuff is really, really good, like 35 days for 35 days, and then stuff is like, not so great. But it's only 35 days, and if you happen to like recon, sure. Lions of the Great War, very good. Army XP is so rare for me and so powerful. So 70 days, this is a good, I think, called Keystone or Capstone focus. I like that. Plus more per sort, we really like that. Division defense, more division defense is really, it's honestly, it's not something I'm going to prioritize, but I really look for it because it reduces our, increases our breakthrough primarily. So once you start stacking division defense, particularly once we get over like to here too, division defense to this, 10% there, 6% here, we can get up to our country division defense to be quite high. That's helpful. 30 Army XP on top. Obviously the key part here is the Army experience gain, and then the war support is nice. So this is a very good focus. Onward, this is nothing, and this is nothing. This is stuff that works better before your Mughal Empire. This is not that great. Entrenchment speed, anti-air hit. For what I play, how I play, no, not that great. This is not that great. Getting engineer and logistics skill for 2 people. I think it's random. I may be wrong on this. I'm probably not going to take that. I'm probably not going to take that for some random person to get Fortress Bunker. It would be kind of cool to have a railway gun. I certainly was tempted to take it for the railway gun. But on single player requires so much micro for a railway gun, I'm not. And then more engineers, I don't know, thanks. I mean, it's cool. There's nothing wrong with it. Again, having focuses that I don't want to take at the bottom isn't bad to me. I don't have a problem with that at all. And then these are the recruitable population focuses. The primary ones, which are really good for the other runs. That's why I'm not going to give them a hit. I'm not going to be critical of them because for the other India runs, these are very useful. Smiling Buddha, it's cool for obviously for the nuclear path. I don't usually make nukes. And then we're going to wrap this up with the Air Force and Navy. All right, 0.20 air expansion. This sounds really bad, not very useful, particularly since we can exercise our CAS and get air XP. We start off with some CAS somewhere around here. Oh, there they are right here. So we can exercise them to get air XP. But the real use, if I was to replay this, I might consider picking up this first. Because once we go for like 250 days, we'll have 50 Army XP. We can get the Independent Air Force for a very cheap Air Advisor here. And at that point, we're making 50 a day. I'm sorry, not 50. 0.50 a day or 50 every 100 days. And at that point, we can pick up 3 Special Forces paratroopers a year, which gives us the Special Forces even faster, in which case then we'd go Marines and paratroopers instead of Marines and Mountaineers. Mountaineers take Army XP, which means we progress down here slower. So in another world, I might consider that option. So this is a lot more useful than it seems when you think of it in terms of Special Forces. Women's Auxiliary, I don't think air accidents actually affect us that much, but I could be wrong. But I wouldn't normally take this. This is kind of interesting and useful, but I don't think it's all that great. This, I don't take the Super Marine. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, because that's the plus agility, but also minus range. And sometimes I have taken it when I'm really desperate, but yeah, plus 10% agility, minus 10% range. No. I think I would rather take this, which is plus agility, plus speed, and plus air attack. I think that alone makes it better. But if you like Supermarine does have air defense, so if you like that. Long range, not very good. Kind of like we're missing here. Again, because we're not making heavy fighters, and 25 Army XP is really not good for 35 day focus. Army XP is very hard to get. Navy XP is kind of, but air XP, once you get aircraft up 500, 600, 1,000 fighters, focuses that grant air XP are worthless. That doesn't mean this is worthless, because you take this early in the game and it will generate a lot in that first 2 or 3 years. More air XP, again, this conceivably, if you were to go here and then here, that could be kind of cool, but I think this plus 20 plus, going to go into the Air Force, and then taking up this would be fine as far as the amount of air XP you would need to progress down paratroopers. But nonetheless, it's 35 days for 0.30 daily is not that bad. This, I wouldn't use it very much. Again, if you don't have an Air Force, this isn't very helpful. And once you have an Air Force, you can just generate a bunch of air XP. This is kind of cool, but it's just buried at the bottom. And there's just so much other good stuff. Remember, to get here, we've already taken all this presumably, and then this. So you probably already have an Air Force by the time you get down here, which makes this not that useful. And you probably already took paratroopers if you were planning to go down that route. So this is not that great. This part of the tree is not that great. And also I'm focusing on this trait. But this is pretty good. Ground support is good, but the air support mission efficiency 5%. Even 5%, I like that. And then agility, we like that. It's 70 days for 8% agility. I don't know if that's that great. And then this is not the great research planes. For transport planes, if we did paratroopers, I suppose potentially we could use this, but I don't use paratroopers that much. At least I don't use the ranged paratroopers, the extended range planes. I just research it. Navy. Now, every pretty much country, including I think majors, have to me pretty terrible navy trees, and minors in particular have brutal. Even the Trial of Allegiance shared tree, which I think is one of the best. One of the best. I mean, this is just really good. This, although it says Argentina, Argentina, Argentina. In fact, this is shared for all of them. Is just really good. Look at it. Doesn't show it here, but that was a 25-day. I think it was a 35-day. Excuse me, with daily Army XP and Army XP and daily Army XP and Army XP and military factor. So that's really good. I think all this stuff is really cool. But even they have like a pretty meh, ship 35 days for ship refitting speed, ship repair speed. I think it's really bad, and I'm only pointing this out because this is like pretty much as good as it gets. You've got a 250% trade cost neutral. That's 50 Navy XP a piece. Cruiser submarines. I mean, none of this is all that great. I just I pointed that as that's what a good Navy thing looks like. So let's see how we look with our India. Well, first of all, the 35 days for 0.20 daily is I think very good if you take it early and use it to advance the Marines, your Marine Special Forces. 35 days for 2 naval dockyards is actually pretty good, and a Navy base, that's not too bad, and 50 Navy XP. In the game, useless, but early game, very useful. That's kind of rough because you have to pay for 1936 destroyers, so this focus on its own, I really don't like. This is naval doctrine and marine technology. That's worth like 30 Navy XP. The naval doctrine, those 30% reduction for doctrines is worth 30 of whatever XP is needed for the doctrine. Not really that great. Ship repair factories, 35 days for a dockyard. That's nah. Particularly since when you're in civilian economy, you get to build dockyards with no malice. So if I need dockyards, I'm just going to build them early. I don't like that. But if you did take destroyers, the British path seems terrible. I haven't tested these, so maybe if you test them and you're like, oh, you actually get all these great things. I'm really not impressed with this Navy path. But as we go on the right side, 35 days for 2 more dockyards and more naval XP. That's not so bad. Oh, 100% for all submarine technologies. Assuming that actually means subs, we could use to pick up in either 1940 or 44. We'd probably take this late, like maybe 1942. That's useful for 35 days. 35 days for 3 dockyards. That's actually really cool. That's actually, now we're getting somewhere, but we've had to research 1936 destroyers to get down here. Not sure if it's worth it. 70 days for 3 more dockyards. Not so great. This is pretty cool, assuming that's working for you. 15% naval damage, 50% naval defense, and 25% in fleet coordination. And then naval evasion, this is either like overpowered if it's really working, if you ever get down here. In my games, my subs have already pretty much cleared the waves by the time we've gotten down here, considering how much good stuff there is in here and how much stuff we've got here. I wouldn't be getting down, and I wouldn't be generally getting down here till like 43 maybe. But if you got down there, this would actually be very cool. And of course, I missed that down here. Cruiser technology. Wouldn't pick up cruisers. Well, this is nice. I know we were actually seeing that. I think I'm seeing this more and more in the different focus trees of miners, where either in the Air Force tree or the Navy tree, they've got like a recruitable pop focus buried in there. 1% recruitable pop is actually really good, particularly for India, which has that real punishing conscription laws cost. For the Mughal path, though, it's not that great because we already have so much population. But for the other Indian paths that don't have as many core population, maybe they have 100 million core or 50 million, this would actually be very useful. Particularly considering how expensive the recruitable pop is. Of course, they would have already probably taken some of these and reduced the conscription cost. I don't know what the number would be, but maybe it'd come down to like 200 or so. But still, if they're already at 5%, pushing this to 6 would be useful. All right. Well, this pretty much wraps it up. As I mentioned, I think this is one of the most powerful countries, miners in the game. It's a lovely, lovely miner. We can expand in every direction. We can go after Iran. We can go after Afghanistan. We can go after Nepal, Bhutan, Tibet, Xinjiang if we want to deal with China, Burma if we wanted to go to war with UK, which I normally wouldn't suggest. And we can do a lot of those even as a non-align because we've got these focuses right here. We also have 5 focuses, because we have 5 research slots available to us, compliance gain, weekly stability gain, division attack, what I think is I'm going to call overpowered, just so unnaturally overpowered MIO bonuses, particularly for infantry. With this kind of manpower, it's begging you to go down, boost your infantry production, and then go pick up some more HP, and then potentially go mass assault, and then take this, and when you go mass assault, this shows up to a plus 10% HP, and then just speed 5 your way around the game. Maybe I'll do that sometime. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. I hope maybe you join. Maybe I've convinced you if you haven't already. If you didn't already feel that way about how powerful the India Mughal path was and how much of a lovely minor this was. I also hope this is a guide to how to look at focuses and what works, and as you prepare your game, both ahistorical and historical. If you have any comments or questions, please leave below. If you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. Well, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.